Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Hey, well, thank you, Sean. Once again, I know I said in the last podcast that I'm going to try to get Sean back on, but he's a busy guy traveling the world. But instead of Sean today, I have Robert Crandall, and we're going to talk about a game that I've been playing since its origin game, Flashpoint Campaigns. But I'm going to let Robert talk. Robert, welcome to the show. Tell us a little about yourself, and tell me that one game that made you a lifelong gamer.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm
My
delighted to
pleasure,
be
sir.
here. Yeah. It had to be SBI's Napoleon at Waterloo. So that was the not quadra game. It was a simple beginner game that was supposed to get people into the hobby as a gateway drug type thing. And it worked like a charm on me. I had a friend in high school, and he brought it over one day. He said, "Let's try this." And we threw it on the kitchen table. Totally confused, but I was 16, so I didn't know anything about anything. But I was hooked on it. I wanted to try more. I wanted to do it again. And I became a subscriber to SPI back in the days, got strategy tactics magazines, and basically blew my savings from one summer painting houses on a lifetime subscription. I was hooked. And I don't know,
How's
that
that
didn't
lifetime
last.
subscription working out now, sir?
Yeah, well, if I had just invested the money instead, I think I'd be a little further ahead. But yeah, I had hundreds and hundreds of games. I have to say had because I then had a basement flood, and I just finished laying out all my games on the floor to look at them, resort them, kind of remember what I had done with them. They got soaked with sewage. Half of my S&T magazines, my moves collection, everything. But I bounced back, and that's kind of the nice thing about computer games. They have different risks, but the chance of being wiped out by a sewage flood isn't very high for those.
So on my laptop, I use a gaming, Alienware gaming laptop. And believe it or not, it got hit with a milkshake. I had to get a new one a few
Oh
years ago.
no.
But I was able to recover the games. And how many games do you have now in the collection? What was the last one you played?
Oh my goodness. I I was at Origins, not this last time, but the time before, and I met Bruce Maxwell, who did the NATO games, the board games, Air and Armor, and I met Fred
Oh,
Short.
we've had him on the show,
Yeah.
and I helped play test one of the Aaron Armors. Bruce, great guy, very
Oh,
pedantic, but a great guy.
I'm so glad he came back to the hobby because he went off in other directions. I guess he had to make a living or something, but then came back. And he is. And I stand in awe of his game. I really enjoy digging into it and looking at it all again. It's complex, and there is a learning curve. But yes, I really like that, the Air and
The,
Armor
w-
games.
the way he handles, and we're going to get into talking about your game in a second, but we're gamers. This is what we do. But with the strength points assigned to different units, and you have the dummy units, and the way he handles recon is a genius mechanic that he was able to pull off in a board game where I think it's better translated to a computer game, which brings us into Flashpoint Campaigns. But so Flashpoint Campaigns, I remember playing early versions of it, but can you take us through the history of Flashpoint Campaigns up till anything new coming out, which is what we're going to talk about?
Okay, well, thank you. Um, because of my great interest in board games, I had hundreds of them at its peak, but then this whole computer thing came along, and I got an Apple an Apple II Plus, as I recall. It could do floating point
Uh-huh.
arithmetic. And I said, yes, I'm going to start putting games on this. Before that, I know I took some computer course at university and I kind of stole some mainframe computer time and put in a bunch of stats and things I collected from my ongoing game of War in the East. I had SBI's monster game stuck to a
Oh
panel
yeah.
of styrofoam on the wall of my bedroom and put straight pins through all the pieces. So it was vertical. And as I tracked losses and hexes captured, and then I collect all that data, put it on punch cards, ran it through under supposedly a politics account, and got all these printouts and charts and all this amazing stuff. So when personal computers came on, perfect, I'm going to do that again. And in the really early days, you had to write your own programs at Applesoft, which is kind of
Uh-huh.
basic. But pretty quickly, other guys had the exact same idea, and Strategic Simulations Inc. came along. And one of the first games they kind of did was Battles of Napoleon, and then they did some Napoleonic stuff. And so I said, I have to do this. And I did. By day, I was sort of a freelance corporate software developer. And then evenings and weekends, I worked on games as a way to improve my programming and try out new techniques, which were fast and furious back then. Things were always changing. But it was great to experiment with a game I was developing to learn all that. So I was doing that, and I hooked up with a publisher, Simulations Canada, long gone now. But they did text-based adventure games, or not adventure, text-based war games back in the 80s, 1980s. And I said, oh, I've got some thoughts. I'd like to do some stuff. In those days, I was kind of an air and naval guy. I had a combined arms interest. And the guy who ran it, Steve Newberg, said, yeah, sure. And this was long before internet, so I would physically mail him 5.25-inch discs of kind of my progress. And we talked by phone, but long distance was expensive back then, so we had to keep it short. And but I had three Apple games with him. Fast forward a little bit, and he retired.
I'm curious, what were those games?
The first one was called Malta Storm. And so that was the Axis attack on Malta in the spring of 1942. Remember, there was a phase where they pulled Luftwaffe 2 back from the gates of Moscow, sent them to Sicily, and promptly had the Eastern Front shred because they didn't have air support now. But they sent them to Sicily to suppress Malta so that the British there could not interdict Rommel's supply lines to Africa anymore. And the Luftwaffe crews arrived just in time for the rainy season to start. So they spent months sort of drinking wine in cantinas and waiting for replacement aircraft chassis to come in. And finally, when the weather cleared, they really hammered Malta and were setting it up for an airborne invasion. And the British, of course, were at their wits' end trying to get replacement aircraft in and supplies. And it was an incredibly interesting multi-domain conflict that had a lot of different what ifs potentially.
It featured the Gloucester Gladiator.
There were some, yes. Yeah.
Faith
And
Open Charity were the names of those planes.
indeed. Oh, they had Hurricanes, they had Spitfires. One of the American aircraft carriers, was it the Wasp that flew off aircraft to bolster them at one point? One of the pleasures of my life was to actually go to Malta for the first time about 5 years ago.
What'd you think
examine Oh, it was great. And they had an amazing military museum. There was it brought it all to life because I had explained sort of the key things to my wife, as she then was, or yeah, was she? We were engaged, I think, on that trip, but not actually married. So I gave her a thumbnail thing, and then this amazing museum had absolutely everything, and the pinnacle of the story for that was the tanker Ohio. And they desperately needed the Ohio's cargo to get through to Malta, and virtually every ship in that convoy was sunk. And the Ohio was hit multiple times and made it into harbor just as it was sinking. And so they were able to take off most of the load and survive, for another couple months. And they have a huge scale model of the Ohio, and they show, oh, here's where the bombs hit and all that kind of stuff. And here's the story of the Ohio. I was in heaven. It was great.
Fled is an inch mall. You could see that it was a horse and cart town, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes. And the
kind of
massive size of the fortifications, but all made of sandstone. So to a medieval knight, that'd be very intimidating. But I don't know, once gunpowder was a thing, it would have been kind of dicey to defend it. And when they did, the fortifications turned to rubble pretty quickly. But still, an amazing thing.
So going back
Oh,
to
yeah.
Flashpoint, we'll get the Flashpoint campaigns, folks out
Yeah,
there.
that was
Let us
Alta
geek out.
Storm. I did Midway, the Battle of Midway, and then the Solomon's campaign, which was inspired by one of Gary Grigsby's games that was set in the Pacific. That was, I think it was just called Guadalcanal campaign, actually, theirs. And then the IP for all that went over to Matrix Games. And I talked to the then president, said, what happened to all the stuff? You're going to rebuild it and improve it. He said, well, hey, how would you like to take one of the games and redo it for us? And so I looked at the catalog of games, and there was a modern one called Main Battle Tank that SimCAD had done as an exercise for the Canadian Armed Forces. And I had bought it, been totally confused by it. And I mean, totally. You got a map that was covered with plastic and a supply of China marker pencils. And you would pencil in the tactical situation as best you could, and then erase it when you went to go play the next game. And it was a text war game. And so you're the HQ trying to communicate with your units through a dense fog of war. And not all the communications go through, or they'll report the sounds of gunfire from this location, or bombs from that location, or tanks moving in a third location. And you had to write circles and mark up your map to try to get the operational picture. And I later found out from him that, the purpose of that game, this is Steve Newberg, was to take down somewhat cocky young officers that had come into the Canadian Armed Forces and thought they knew everything about everything because they had taken a course or two. And the idea was to explain battlefields are total chaos. You may think you know what's going on, but you don't really. And the whole idea was to confuse these guys, deflate them a little, and make them open to learning all over again. And so I took one of those.
It reminds me of Weapons School.
Does it? Yes.
Yeah, especially when I got a 13 on the first test. No, I got an 11. Yeah, not good.
Good
Not
start to a career. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what else can I do with a face like this? It's
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
and you talk about the text games, and I don't want to once again pull you down another rabbit hole, but there's a game I'm a huge fan of called Radio General by yet another Canadian.
Yes, yeah.
Michael Long. That game is amazing, and I know he's working on another one because he said, "Hey, can I ping you for questions every once in a while?" I go, "Sure." And like the questions are very brief, and I go, "Is that all you need?" And yeah, so it's an interesting game.
You're
So
truly the commander. You're communicating with the outside world, trying to form that concept, that
have you
mental map.
played it?
No, but I read all about it. I'm highly interested in what comes next in that series.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And you can, anybody out there, you can listen to the podcast I did with Michael. Great guy, and I don't want to bother him. When's this game going to come out? Because when he told me the overview, I'm like, that's really exciting. So so your game's got optioned by Matrix, and as we know, Matrix has gone through a lot of changes. Matrix Slytherin now, so
Yes.
it was interesting because SSI I think had the initial versions of sorry, I just blanked on the name because it's sitting right in front of me of Flashpoint. Did I get that right?
Matrix did, yes.
Oh,
But
Matrix
not
did.
SSI. Yeah, no.
Okay. And
No,
then
SSI, we did overlap with SSI a bit, but they collapsed shortly after. Just the business went south is what I understand.
the first one was Red Storm that came out, which
Yes. Yeah,
I
I
played
had
the
that.
heck I played the heck out of it. And then what was it, a year, maybe a year and a half ago, could even be longer, Southern Storm came out and it upgraded the engine. And I was blown away by it. And now as we go into Flashpoint Campaigns Cold War, it seems like I think that's the 3.0 engine, if I got it right. Um,
Mhm.
like I'm playing around with it. Is Flashpoint Campaigns Cold War really kind of the next iteration? Because I noticed a lot of the scenarios are similar, or it's just my beta copy
Yes,
of it.
it's the next iteration. We rolled forward the whole Southern Storm, but massively worked on the engine and had to update all the scenarios accordingly. Yeah, so I started working Matrix. I came out with Flashpoint Germany ages ago,
Mm-hmm.
2005. Um, Worked on it some more. That became Flashpoint Red Storm. Worked on that a whole bunch more. By now I had partners and all kinds of things helping. Came out with Southern Storm. And Southern Storm was the sort of the extreme southern end of the inter-German border. So it was US 7th Corps and the German 3rd Corps in particular. And then you said the Czechs and the Soviets and the East Germans. Um, and then what we were going to do was release DLCs for each of the NATO corps running up to the north. And Matrix said, yeah, stick to programming, Rob. That's not very marketable. Just take the best of everything and just make that, and we'll put that out. And so that's what Cold War is. And it's not got absolutely every contingent that we want to have in it yet. But yes, that's the idea.
What's missing, if I can
We
ask?
don't have the Dutch.
Oh,
We have
well,
plans for the Dutch, and we
German
have
light.
maps for the Dutch. Yeah. So, and we don't have a lot of reforger units. So, in the event of a war, the US was going to fly in a massive number of troops to pre-positioned equipment in the Pumpka sites and get them into action. And yeah, so there was a whole US 3rd Corps that was going to be in the north. And we're nibbling at that, but we haven't covered that yet. What we do have is something on the order of 110 plus scenarios. So massively more than we've ever had before. And keeping all of those up to date as we make game changes and come down to the final finish line. Now, it turned out to be an unexpected challenge. But hey, we're war gamers. We're used to detail and micromanagement and all that kind of thing. So it's doable.
And the Orsa in me, of course, loves the background data that this game has. One of the things that I've noticed, especially even more with the last two, and let me spell it out
Mm,
for the folks that are out there who have not yet bought this but will, that it really puts you in the cockpit of a low operational level commander down to tactical, where most of the time you're in command of a brigade, sometimes even larger, and you have all the subordinate units underneath. What I love most about this game is it shows me fuel and munitions expenditure. It shows readiness. You have offboard fires. You have air. It kind of all comes down, and I don't think it is a lot of games that have this much detail. Not to mention, well, I'll mention Gary Grigsby's games. It's near impossible to play. And maybe I'll even badmouth another Matrix game, Command.
oh, yes.
Yeah, Paolo sent it to me, and they had an ATO builder in it, and I was sitting there one Saturday morning for 5 hours, and I said, I did this in real life with like 200 other people, and I hated it back then. But this game, from that level, just has so many things about it. If you were to say what makes this game different than all the others, what would you say? Well, I guess you have to. I just asked.
Yeah, I have to now. Um, if I may, though, This game is a ground tactical computer war game. Like you said, you're in charge of anything from a reinforced battalion up to a reinforced regiment or small brigade. You can go bigger, but it starts to bog down, I would say. But it's a high intensity ground combat. You've got all the tanks, all the attack helicopters, the infantry, the artillery, all the things in a very complex war set in the sort of hypothetical war of 1989. It's the summer, the Warsaw Pact has come across the border, and you have to stop them. Every war game has abstractions, and that's
War games are abstractions.
our abstractions. They are not
Yeah.
realistic. But when we looked at this, we went, oh man, look at the variety of units. And the force density is fairly low. It's much less than World War I or World War II. So you've got units that are collections of things, your maneuver units, your counters on the map can, have tanks and command vehicles and maybe some trucks, and they might have dismountable air defense, and they might have a Stinger or something. The Russians in particular, and Soviets rather, had everything and everything, so they could answer any need at the company level or battalion. And we're going, okay, as a war gamer designer, if I had a scale of 1 to 10, would this unit be a 5 or a 6? And I looked at myself in the mirror and went, no, come on. There are all these individual tanks. There's an M1, there's an M1A1, and we had to learn all the vehicles. But we will model, if it has 5 M1s, A1s in it, then that's what we show. And if they have other things attached within the unit, we represent them as individuals. So the units are composed of subunits, the individual vehicles or squads of men or tubes of artillery. And each of those in turn has sort of a chassis and then weapon systems and sensor systems and all kinds of sort of special characteristics. If they've got something unique about their laser rangefinders or something like that. One of the first specials was thermal imaging, because that was brand new and very cool and could make all the difference, say, just at twilight or just at dawn, when the heat signature of everything kind of flips from daytime to nighttime. So we wanted to model all that. And we can't say it's a 5 or a 6. And we say it's a collection of these tanks and this situation. They're moving, they're not moving, they're dug in, whatever. But we went quite far down into the weeds. Yes, so that's why we started thinking about command. But we also, and I've met the command team. We get along famously. But we said, no, it's got to be easier than command. So we tried to create a core or subset of user interface elements. Basically point, click and drag, that will get you operating the game fairly quickly. And we have a ton of supporting staff reports, but you don't need them. We have all kinds of things you can fiddle with, but you don't need to do that. You can, definitely, but you can start with a fairly simple experience. And with Cold War, we've gone back and looked at all the reports we got saying, oh, this is a bit tough, or you have to do too many clicks to get the game started, and cut them down. We just ruthlessly simplified the basic mechanics so that even if you're not a huge war game person, you can still get going. You may not win, you most likely won't, but you'll learn what it. That's right. Yeah, but you learn. Okay, well, tanks, self-propelled artillery, modern infantry fighting vehicles. Yeah, they all look the same in profile, but no, they're quite different. And they behave differently. You can learn at your own pace. And we've had really good pickup from our current testers. You really helped with that.
So, most people that listen to the show know that, I'm a numbers guy. I used to be an ORSA. And looking at the detail of the game, it most certainly takes situation the unit's in at that moment as a factor to include where the unit lies, where its target is, and it goes through, folks are going to cringe when a series of mechanical die rolls to look at those combat results based on the same thing on the other side. So what I like about the game is like when I expose myself in as I'm maneuvering a unit and I know that
Hmm.
the terrain is wide open, I'm going to see a lot more missile shots against my forces as opposed to closer when I come in, usually using more cannon, other types of weapons. It seems like from playing this game, and I play games for fun. Well, I also play them for work, but I look at, does this seem just about right? Does this make sense? And mathematically, I think it does. Looking at it, I mean, I could get in later about what kind of standard deviation are you using? Are you using Monte Carlo in the background? But it comes out how it should. A lot of times, I'll play the game on easy and play the same thing, making the same moves on hard. And I see that my statistical success starts going down. There's a lot underneath the hood of this game that I think you explained brilliantly. But I think folks out there should be aware that this game is really deep. It's really deep.
It is. Thank you, Mitch. And it thrills me to hear you say that because it's nice to have all that work appreciated. The team grew to about 6 people, three of them former military, and one guy in particular was all about the simulation and modeling. And I had
Near and
fairly
dear to my heart.
simple heuristics. Yeah, to start, he says, no, we got to do it differently. And so, in an encounter between two units, well, we look at the subunits and we look at, well, who would they logically shoot at? Dividing fire, not trying to concentrate too much. And do you fire at the most threatening subunit across from you, or the most vulnerable, or the highest value? And so we really get down into the weeds. But to keep it simple for players, we don't express that. And they just see it the way you just saw it. And we're constantly refining that. We don't want to write down exactly what's happening because we'll probably change it in another 6 weeks. But yes, we really try to model things as much as possible, as opposed to say design for effect, where you just say, yeah, whatever. Half of them will die, so just roll a die, and 1 to 3 they're dead.
And I've never been able to fault the AI. The AI seems like it works really well. And folks out there should know it is not just the red AI if you're playing by yourself, it's AI of your units as well. Especially when they do the route marches. Like, why is this
Yes.
unit going all the way around? Well, it has figured out that using paved roads makes it quicker. And, units can assault in the game. I got to
Hmm.
be honest, never did it. Because the subunit is a master of its domain at that moment and their situational awareness. Because remember, I'm in the headquarters all the way back.
Well, that's right.
I
Yes.
trust them.
Yes. Yeah. You have to
I,
leave them to do their thing. There's no facing in the game because the local guy's going to set the facing to, he'll arrange his units. The second lieutenant will take care of that. That's not your job, as a brigadier general.
you could
Correct.
go into the crunch as much as you want to by micromanaging units and strikes. But then again, you don't have to, and you could just watch the maneuver
Yeah.
happen and the kinetics happen. That I've always been a fan of the game for its pure kind of chrome under the hood, or the engine under the chrome, as it were. But looking at the game now, it seems to have gotten better as a modeling and sim tool, as well as an enjoyable play experience. The game also looks so much better than it ever did before.
Yeah.
Um, you know, okay, I'm going to say this. It
Yeah.
didn't need it, but I'm glad it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for all those kind words again. It brings up a lot
Well,
of points.
Paolo
Y-
gets upset if I don't, say nice things.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
I get it.
I should mention something that's really unique, and we kind of talked about it a bit, but it comes
Yep.
back into what the viewpoint is of the player. Yeah, you are not the second lieutenant. And you are the boss, and you have to think like a boss. And the viewpoint of the game is you are in overall control. And so there are delays to orders that go out. almost like Napoleonics. You know, you're not sending a courier off on horseback, but you are trying to get through a fairly obscure electronic warfare background that degrades and then slows things down. And even on a clear day, if you form a thought, oh, you know, unit A should go from point A to point B, it takes them, you have to communicate the order, you have to get briefed back, you have to get them on their feet from whatever they're doing before, and they have to get going. And that takes a few minutes. And a key part of the game, so going back to the chaos of the battlefield, was yeah, units don't always respond instantly. They can't. It takes time to get things organized. For a variety of reasons, they may not move at a very good speed, both good and bad reasons. And so coordinating groups of units and your forces is no trivial thing. And that's one of the, it can descend into chaos if you don't really think about what you're doing and make plans and set waypoints and set timings and things.
I forgot to mention that too. It models
Yeah,
EW,
yeah,
NBC within the game. um, it's just kind of interesting how that works, and the game is tracking so many things. So
yeah.
you've been with the project for a while. To get it to this stage, what has proven the most challenging? And we're talking about the mechanics, the under the hood stuff. And what has been the most rewarding that was almost surprising?
Um, the good and surprising thing were all the people I met through all this. Um, I thought my original interest would be in the AI end of it and coming up with really cool plans. And I also really love the research elements of it.
Hmm.
And of course, I like the programming parts. You know, that's if I could do anything, all I would just sit down and program, even now. But yeah, it was the people. The the experience of making war games pre-internet was pretty isolating. You know, you'd buy a lot of books and you'd read magazine articles, but that was about it. You're on your own. With the internet, we have a fully virtual company now. And we're talking to each other all the time. Um, Not quite worldwide, but not far short of it either. And that's the fun part. It's a social activity now, making the game. Uh,
Oh, it is.
the and
Unless you're
I
doing it
wouldn't.
with me.
Ah,
And I've helped people try to get their games. A lot of game companies, if you want to submit something unsolicited, they say send it to
mhm.
one of our assholes, and I'm one of them. And
Ah,
I've had guys tell me I know nothing about wargaming, that I'm an idiot.
oh no.
Well, that could all be true.
Well,
Uh,
or not.
it, but it has to be a little Lennon and McCartney sometimes. There has to be some arguments
Hmm.
because
The
that's
game
design.
improved enormously once I took on Jim Snyder as my first partner.
Hmm.
And that's the group that went up to six. And we would have lively Saturday morning discussions. You know, we design, okay, we need to look at X again. We did a quick and dirty one. Now we need to model it properly. What's involved? And we all had different perspectives. So I was looking at it as a program. You know, how are we going to program this? Um, my friend with modeling and simulations kind of skills say, oh, here's how the US Army does it. Boom, boom, boom. You have to do it this way. A third guy would say, well, no, wait a minute. You know, how is this going to play? Like people need to be able to look at the screen, understand what we're doing, and not make it hard for them. You know, it's a game still. Don't forget that. Fourth guy was the AI guy going, oh, come on, like you're killing me. How can I possibly write a computer opponent that could, you know, do this new thing? You know, engineers building bridges under fire and they need smoke, you know, to cover them. How am I going to do all that? And between us, we got to an agreed point that we could then implement all around. And it was a very satisfying experience. You asked what was bad, and the bad thing is when you have to do it over and then over and then over again.
Well,
You're going, I've
not
done this five
bad.
times. Come on. Yeah.
Overly challenging. Because look, if you go to social media and any
Mm,
game that comes out, I can guarantee you this. They buy it, they say it sucks, and they could do a better job, but they don't. Um, it's
exactly.
it's such a finicky crowd, and I work with a lot of designers, and I'm like, stop crowdsourcing, okay?
Hmm.
Because are you looking for one customer or 1,000? Well, I'm looking for a lot. Right. Don't listen to the assholes out there. We usually pick up an E rating on our shows. So don't, and I'm trying, like,
Yes, yes.
yeah, if I drop an F bomb, you have to call me on it to make sure it was a worthy one because, I only have so many. And, it's one of the things going with that I noticed is this game continuously gets great feedback from,
Mm,
yeah, there's some people I don't like it because I think their bias and perceptions of what a game should be and what warfare is really like is way off the mark. Yeah, I'm talking about you. You know who you are. But it's mostly positive. And like a guy like Tim Barrick, I think he's written a bunch of the scenarios. Um,
no,
some
not for
some of
this
the
one. He's commissioned some for the pro
the
side of our endeavors,
mhm.
um, but yeah. But no, your main point is right, and it is everybody's a critic, especially in the wargaming community. Oh, you got the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah.
color buttons on this uniform, yeah, type thing. Um, and a lot of people talk about writing war games, but very few get started, and even fewer get finished. And at one time, I was going, oh, early days of the internet, I had these conversations. Oh, we should do a game on this, or I should do a game on that. And for every 10 maybe that were discussed seriously, maybe one started. For every 10 started, from my experience, maybe one got actually completed and released. So it's a big deal to finish a war game and get it out there. And
That
a
is
lot of
a
them,
higher that's a higher percentage than I would always think it is.
mhm.
But you know, I'll take it and go.
Well, then a lot of the ones released then stiff, and you never hear from the poor guy again. Oh man! But we've been lucky. With doing Cold War, our audience is people who were in that, who served in uniform at the time, about a third of them maybe. And we got a lot of really nice reports back saying, yeah, I disagree on some of the line of sight stuff, maybe, but that feels good to me. And one of the best I ever got was from a former Warsaw Pact officer. And he said, oh, I thought your game would just be Hollywood fluff. But I bought it, I played as the red player, and I followed our procedures, our tactics, and I won. And so kudos to you. I really like this game.
Was he a Polish guy?
I, I'm not sure now. This is quite a while ago,
Yeah.
early Red Storm days. And again, because they had served, they could say, oh, you didn't get this, TOE quite right or this OB quite right. And they give us really good ideas. One guy gave a really good real world description of scatterable mines, FASCAM, and when you'd
Pascal.
use it and how you'd use it. Yes. And I went, pure gold. I didn't know that. We'll use it in the game.
And
And
oh,
yes,
go
and,
ahead.
and we had like 14 iterations of Red Storm. We ended up calling it the Players Edition because we had so many good ideas brought to us like that we could use. And so we rolled it in and we gave everybody a credit for that.
One of my friends, well, a bunch of my friends are attorneys, and they often say that in a criminal or any type of case, sometimes the worst evidence you can get is eyewitness evidence. And
Mm,
from, especially with Cold War games, because I worked on um, Team Yankee, I wrote the polls in the game. Yes,
mhm,
everybody here knows
mhm,
I'm Polish. I did my research, but I would get guys would come to me at cons that were maybe in the army for 2 years that were tank drivers and tell me how I got it wrong. And
yes, yes, yes.
because, once again, from your little cupola, you don't see everything. And, I hate to say it, we don't teach lower level NCOs and even second lieutenants how war works. That comes later. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes they are they could be amazing when it comes to the technical aspect of things, like how fast cam works, how
Yes.
depicum works.
Mhm.
But when they're like, no, it's not right, and I see that a lot, especially because I'm fascinated with the the production economic side of our community, our hobby.
Mm.
And it's
Mhm.
always well, yeah, I was a sergeant in the whatever doing this at the time, and that's not how that works. And I'm like, I am sure you were great at your job, but we didn't teach you how everything works. It's impossible. We needed you to be really good at your job. And, picking through that when you get to modern, I, I, I think sometimes you can get helmet fire with all the comments. You have to really kind of look at which ones get it and which ones don't. That's why a lot of the games I've helped design and produce are Great War because there's nobody around from then.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
so the onus is on me to do my research, but it's always good to get some of those inputs. It is just how do you filter them? To me, that is. But this game is
Yeah.
different. I think it attracts a different type of player. So I could see most of them being extremely helpful. And it
We
sounds
did
like
have,
yeah,
yeah, the odd one. Oh, I was a tank captain, in the army, and yeah, you show M1 A1s, being far too vulnerable. Um, you know, I was shocked the first time I played, and I sent out four, and they got vaporized like in the first hex they moved into. I'm like, that's not possible. They're mythical, godlike creatures. They can't be killed. Certainly not
what's
so quickly.
that line from the movie Titanic? She's unsinkable. She's made out of iron. I'll
Honestly,
assure you she'll sink.
the and so yeah, oh okay, I have some expectations to reset. And we do get people saying, "Oh, it didn't work." I've driven those things. They're invulnerable. Going, well, okay, that's your opinion. Thank you very much, but we beg to differ. That was a hyper lethal battlefield, and
You know,
almost empty.
we do
And
tell guys that it's invulnerable, so they get in and do the job. I mean, I still remember having to
yeah,
tell a 117 guy, "Your plane's invisible, man." And he's like, "Yeah, that's right, it is." And well, we all know from 1999, it's not. So yeah, it's just trying to discern what is good information, what is not. The thing about the new version of the game that's coming up, it looks like it's pulling in a lot of the old scenarios. Thank you for having the fourth Canadian Mechanized Brigade in the game,
yes. Oh,
because
it
one of my favorite books is it's First Strike by Maxey.
first
That
clash, maybe.
First Clash,
First
which
clash. It's at my elbow. Yes.
that that to me is because it's a war college text because it explains what defense in depth is, what a meaning engagement is, but it tells a narrative story like a techno thriller, and but I think it explains the weapons, the training, and the Van Dews are in it, and the part of my family that's Canadian, they're all from Montreal, so thank
Oh,
you.
really? Yes, the
Yeah,
Vaduz.
yeah.
That was commissioned by the Canadian Armed Forces, again, to get, um, the overconfident guys thinking about what their job really entailed, and he did it, it's brilliant, it's full of, real world, um, tactical principles, but things like, yeah, the people in peacetime that show so well may fold in wartime and vice versa, and as a commander, you gotta think about that. Deliberately was left on an ambiguous note, so we didn't win, we didn't lose. And this is a classic for staff exercises and things. You want to exercise the decision points in the scenario, but not actually bring it to a conclusion. Because then people say, "Oh, I won, so I know everything. I'm Napoleon." Or if they lose, they go, "This is a stupid game. I'll never play it again." But if you leave it in doubt, as he did in that book, then it's a learning experience. It's a teaching tool. It gets engagement. There
Most
was
people here. Go ahead. Sorry.
and there was a follow up which is not well known, and I only just learned about it myself recently. But if you search, if you like Kenneth Maxey and First Clash, you'll be able to find what the second one is. And it's a free PDF somewhere if you're interested.
Just like Hackett wrote the second iteration of Third World War,
Mm-hmm.
and it was horrible. but he made
I
it
have
to,
all those books. Yes.
he was a land component commander at NATO, and he was at Arnhem. So there's little I can say to criticize the guy. Plus, I think he's long since deceased.
Yeah.
Uh,
General Sir
but
John Hackett. Yeah.
yeah, Sir John. To me, it's, you know, using that. Well, I'll just go an experiential one. You talk about winning and using it with professional military. I
Mm-hmm.
run games and I leverage, I would say, manipulate the fact that they're all type A people that want to win, and
Mm.
I'm running the game for analysis. If they win, I didn't write a good enough game because I need to see when things
Ah.
break. I need to see the friction lines. I need to see, well, where in .mil PFP did this thing break? But I so take advantage of them being, we got to win, type A people. Was I one of them today? Sure, because if I
For
say no,
sure.
I'm
Yes.
going to get, you know. But I think, using it in that respect, just like, we talked about our friend Jim Sterrett, who's been on the podcast and is a great guy. He's there to kind of teach them. You don't know everything, but you still are required to try to think about everything. And
I'm yes, I know James Starrett well. I
yeah,
used to meet with him every summer for about 14 years straight. And
great guy.
he would do staff exercises at the Origins Game Fair. And so we get just people floating by saying, "What the heck is that?" And we'd sign them up, and we'd get a team of like six, maybe three civilians, three ex-military typically, who kind of role play the staff of a, a US mech brigade, say,
Hmm.
or a
Oh, I know
battalion
the
rather,
game.
something
I
small.
know the game
Yeah.
he runs. Yeah,
And so we do that. And this was his day job, and he was doing it for recreation. But you could see at the end when he was doing the debriefs, he really had to zip his lips sometime if somebody, such as
yeah.
me, did a bad job. Whereas in real life, in class, he'd just lay into whoever the unfortunate person was, messed it
He's
all up.
he
That
really,
was the point. Yeah. Yeah.
he really knows it. And then, you got guys like Mike Dunn has been up there forever. I love
Mm.
Mike Dunn, great guy. And Mark, I got to mention you, Mark. Um, Hope you're all doing well out there in Kansas. But yeah, they're really good guys, and to watch them kind of break things down. But yeah, it's odd. Jim is when he was at my house, I'm pointing at it. I'm sure everybody here could see it. I have about 300 board games, and if I point all the way down the hallway, I have a room full of miniatures for dozens, scores of games that, yep, it's my job. I got lucky in life. It's also my hobby. I'm going to tell you something that you may not believe. A lot of people that work in wargaming for the DoD don't
Mhm.
do it as a hobby.
Whoa. That's shocking.
It
I'm
is.
really
And
surprised. Yeah.
yeah, and one thing I've tried to do is wherever I've worked in wargaming, I've tried to show them that, because you have a bunch of folks. I'll give the example of Blood Red Skies by Warlord, right? It's an World War II air game. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, geez, maybe I know a little bit about how this works. And,
Not much
but
of a challenge for you, you're saying? Yeah.
no, they got it right, because they don't understand how everything works, but they abstracted it perfectly.
Oh,
And, well, do you want to know how he abstract? I don't, because he got it right. And one of the things, I always bring this up. We've all seen the first Men in Black
yes.
when they're doing the tryouts. And what did the guy say? Thank you, gentlemen. You're definitely the product of years of government training. We're the one
Zap.
guy that,
Yeah.
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 And to me, it's that healthy connection between the hobby side and, of course, the professional side. I remember giving a tour to a bunch of war game designers for Circle DC of the Pentagon, and one of them goes, you laugh at our games because they're not that important." I go, "No, let me tell you something. You guys get it right, and when you get it right, I steal it, because it abstracts it right. Because I don't need to go into nuts and bolts detail. I need to abstract things. You guys are geniuses." But I've had some game designers at my current job come and
Hmm.
do PME sessions where they show us the game or a game that's coming out, and our folks play it and they go through their design process. I think there's a lot to learn. But once again, if I walk into a room with a bunch of like retired 06s, we all think the same. And I think that hurts wargaming, which is inherently creative in an environment that does not usually foster such creativity. And that's why I think the mesh between, the hobby world or really the folks that haven't been ingrained in the military and the military people, that needs to, in my opinion, we have to flatten the curve on that because I take so much from folks on the outside and I use it. And, I always say every game that I work on a design has DNA of every game I've ever played, good or bad. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
take, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I've often thought about that same issue and wondered why there aren't more people that are in both worlds. Because to me, it's a slightly different metaphor, maybe, but it's like a really veteran football coach who's seen it all and has a mental bag of tricks that's enormous because he's seen it all. He's been in it a long time. And so, no matter what the situation is for the game out in the field, he'll say, "Oh, here are two or three or four things that we could try. One of them might be the book solution, textbook solution, and the rest are things he's seen happen in the real world. And it depends on the people out there and what the opposition is doing that day as to which might work." And in military, of course, you have the exact same thing. And if you're a civilian board gamer, you will have played a gazillion games and developed a huge mental bag of tricks. And it doesn't really much matter if the trick came from, oh, here's a game I fought for the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, Napoleonic War, something on the in World War II in Normandy. It's a trick. And what we found sometimes in our discussions with people is that people had one trick, it was a textbook trick on the professional side, and they learned it and they're done. And that's all you need to know. Thank you very much. And that's why the amateurs can are sought out even, certainly tolerated because they actually
Yeah.
do know something, um, and they can discuss it. I've seen something like this before. Here's something we might try, and tend to be more
It's,
right than wrong, perhaps, in
well,
that
they see,
department.
they see the trees in the forest
Yeah.
where, like I said, and it goes back to, I remember playing at a con. I was running a tournament, and brand new guy came out, and he wanted to kind of learn Flames of War. Which, yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know what happened to that guy, but if he's still playing it, he's one of the few. Um, that I could see he was exasperated, and he goes, I did this in the army for 20 years, and I said, so in other words, you understand operational art, you understand tactics, combined arms, you understand the synergies of modern warfare capabilities. And he goes, yes. I said, you need to forget all that. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, it's a game. Learn the mechanics. And there are guys that know nothing about World War II, but are amazing in that game. Like my friend Ben, he used to win every tournament running his Churchill list. God bless him. I love that tank. And,
Yeah.
talking about when in the war, where it was used and what it was used for. And he goes, I don't really know or care. All I know is within the game mechanics, it has a better survival rate, this, and this, and it fits my playing style. I think that's the other interesting part of it too, because I've seen folks throw dice because they think they're experts at it, and it's like, no, maybe you're experts in battalion level maneuvers. This is a World War II game that's with dice, and you use a ruler. You don't got it. So I find that interesting, personally.
Mhm.
Boy, we're just beating up on gamers today, aren't we?
We are. Um, I should
We
say
need
that
them.
we try to avoid gamey things like that in Flashpoint campaigns. The Cold War game does really try to reward good tactics. If you have tactical knowledge and you understand the importance of the recon battle, and then the importance of both the maneuver plan, which of course is the sexy part, but also the fire plan and how the two work together, you'll do much better. You don't have to.
Darn it, you stole my transition point. But keep
Oh,
going. You're
I'm
keep
done. You
going.
go, please go ahead, Mitch.
No, that was it. I said what is different about Flashpoint is that it does reward that. And a lot of it is I think computer games are better for that
Hmm.
because it's not as tactile. And I just, if you're going to put your tanks on a main road where they're highlighted by terrain, on an elevation, you're going to die. Just
Yeah.
how it is. Even if you have the M1, you're going to die. Computer games are just so much better at that.
Yeah, so we do a complicated line of sight calculation over all the folds in the ground and all like the cover terrain and stuff. But yeah, if you
Yeah.
take your scout helicopter and fly him over a ridge, you've just lost a scout helicopter. Like, come on, wake up, guys. Um,
Yeah. Earlier
I,
today, I was using my attack helicopters, and I I kept them as recon platforms for artillery. I
mhm.
hopped in, and you can give the orders those type of orders to keep it there to use recon because I have a lot of firepower, and some of it's not even on the game board, and I am going to use my firepower, which is something that I can leverage. I also know how to slow down the enemy with, fast cam,
Mm,
with other types
yeah.
of harassing attacks. The the way the fires work in the game, to me, it's pretty good to the point where it
Oh,
gets it 100% right.
well, thank
And
you.
I never
Well,
say that. I never say that.
that was a focal point for the current iteration was to improve that. That's really nice to hear. Um,
You know,
what I
maybe
you
maybe
mentioned
one day we'll sit down. We'll talk about air a little bit, but that's in the future.
yeah,
I know how
you
air works
yeah,
because I breathe it every day.
I know. One of my design partners does too. His dad, especially, is extremely Air Force oriented, shall we say?
Mhm.
And so we get all kinds of. How do we get a B-52
But
into a tactical ground game? Okay, it's there now.
well, let me tell you something. It would have to be a very, very, very permissible environment. It
Yeah,
just wouldn't be used that way.
it wouldn't.
But then again,
It's
never stop your
insane,
enemy
but we yeah
when they're making
we
a
put
mistake.
it in. You mentioned Mike Dunn earlier, a colleague of James Starrett, and I met Mike. He said, "Yeah, when I sit down a game, I always try to play it with good basic tactical principles." He does not
Mhm.
search out the game. He's not a rules lawyer. Clearly, he doesn't want
Oh, I've
gaming
seen
people.
him run games, and I could tell you, yes, he's not.
And that inspired me. That was actually a pretty foundational observation he made from my experience, because that's the critical lens now. We look at the game. Is it too complicated for say a college student who mildly interested to figure out? Will it have ahistorical elements that will rub a vet the wrong way? And is it just exploitable with gamey hacks? And
Mhm.
anytime we encounter any of that, we're all over it right away. And we take some pride that no, you rewards good tactics. So start
Which
learning.
I mean, which I think the digital realm is just ripe for that because it simulates so much. It's so much more immersive. But one
Mm,
thing from playing this game for years and playing the heck out of the beta copy I have, that you don't. There's some rough days out there. I try to look at why I had such a rough day, and it was usually because of my mistakes, my stupidity, and not understanding my situational awareness. I'm going to mention it, Jim. My MDMP, my OODA loop was busted. Um, but even when I'm not having a good day out there, the game is still fun as hell.
oh, I'm glad. We try to increase the variety of encounter. So if you jump around semi-randomly between scenarios, you need to stop and think as you get set up. Oh, this isn't going to be the last one. This is now a night fight in a forest, or maybe, or
Hmm.
a day on the open in the North German plain, something like that. And that's deliberate. We're definitely trying to keep presenting a challenge. And yes, there will be some bad ones sometimes.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
I
they're
have a lot of
winnable,
bad
but
ones.
yeah, we we're always improving it. And again, it kind of goes to the audience because we have some customers that are going to come home. It's been a long day. They finally got the kids to bed. They've got 40 minutes to do something. Oh, I'll play a game. But basically, he wants to lay out a plan of maneuver and then just see what happens. And things blow up, and you feel satisfied, and you can now go to bed. Other
Which is, go
people,
ahead.
oh,
I'm sorry.
that's a thing. Absolutely, we want those people. Other people are planners, and they've got time. I'm going to take a minimum of 4 hours, say, especially if they have previous military experience, because they'll look at it. They'll actually study the briefings. They'll look at overlays. They'll think, what's the most likely course of action for the enemy? How can I respond to that? And they might take 2 hours before they first hit the play button, but they've planned out the whole battle. They put all the orders in, and then they just click play, 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 play until the enemy shows up because there's full fog of war. So it takes a while for them to show up. And they see how the reconnaissance efforts have worked out. And they then start amending the plan. But for them, the ideal battle isn't, let's just, do a tank rush down the center and see what happens. It's, I have a meticulously crafted plan and I want to see how far I get with that before it falls apart. And that too is a valid thing. And we get people doing that, playing it that way. And so they want
Well,
the tools to do it. And they want that, the feel of being in a tactical operations center when they're
for all
setting all
those
this up.
that are going to buy the game, and if you listen to us this far, you probably have either played it before, but you got to buy this one. If you don't like it, just give me a call. I'll refund it for you.
Oh,
It has
well.
the Mitch guarantee, but the key of this game, you said it. You have to understand and read some of that. Most people think it's fluff at the beginning. It really isn't. You have to look at the time of day, the weather, because weather plays a role in this game, especially when you're looking
Oh,
at
indeed.
using
Yeah.
air and everything else. And then put your orders in. I have taken all of that and I've done it both ways, played it for fun and then really put a meticulous game plan because look, never did land warfare, right? I chose a
Mm.
different career and looking to see how that plan worked, what I can learn from it. Um, I think it's excellent. The one thing I was going to ask with that is, line of sights. Is there a
Mhm.
line of sight tool in this game I don't know how to use?
Ooh, well, have you used the Control L hotkey?
I'm going to use it
Because
right now.
click on a unit, hit Control L, and it will show you, will highlight the hexes it can see, and it will
Yep.
give you the visibility into that hex.
Okay.
In a
I just did it
board,
with a Recce
yeah,
unit.
boom. You
And it
can
has
then,
detect, classify, and identify, which
different levels of,
they're all
yes,
doctrinal terms,
yeah, yeah. The Brits wanted us to put that in, so we did.
really.
There's a percentage factor as well. So if you have 100% visibility into a hex, it's just a meadow down below you, then it says 100. But there's so much random terrain, buildings, trees, hedges, ditches, that you rarely get 100%, and it attenuates as you look through hex after hex. So you might have a reading, say, of 24% visibility into this hex, and so it's like a concept of partial line of sight. You know something's down there, but not well enough to get a, truly identify it or to get a actionable like direct fire solution. And so yeah, we modeled right down to that kind of level. Um, if you see some vehicles and some dust in behind the trees, okay, you can drop some HE on it, like indirect fire. But the tanks are likely just to waste ammo blazing away at it. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And these are all part of the built-in calculations that happen as the turn resolves and they counter
Because
each
you
other.
have a full S staff here. You have your three,
Yes.
your two, your four, your fires. Um, it is EW's always displayed as to your comm status. There's so much here in this game, and it's kind of like why I've always liked it. I hate RTSs, uh,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them because it's helmet fire. There's too much going on. What this
Yes.
game does right, and then we should warn everybody, is that you will put your moves in and bam, right? And you hit go. The game tells you, I am now going to simulate this amount of time and then turn the controls back over to you,
Yes.
which no other game does that.
You're not allowed it, yeah, you're not you have to give your orders and plan ahead and let things resolve. Because
Right.
you're not God. You don't have this God's eye view. Things will happen outside of you. And it takes time for your staff to say, "Oh, okay, well, this unit got here, but they lost 2 tanks, whatever."
You know, I've run a
And
game for
the
chaplains,
way
and
we do that,
they're not
yes,
God.
is
Yeah.
yeah. And so we had the OODA loop, and we explicitly model it. And your turn length is a function of it. So if you've got small, well-rested, cohesive forces, your turn might be 15 minutes. If they get beat up and your headquarters issued so many orders that it's been located by the enemy and had an artillery stomp called down on it, your readiness is bad, you've lost some headquarters subunits, your turn length will expand. It might go to 20 or 25 minutes. If you get a nuclear weapon dropped on you, it
Bad
can go
day.
to 45 minutes. Oh my God. And then
Yeah,
as your troops rest up again, pardon me, it will shorten again. So you can throw in a hasty attack, gets clobbered, your turn length goes really long. We go, okay, no, I'm going to rest and resupply. I'm going to regroup my forces. I'm going to try again this way. You can, and the turn lengths will shorten up again, so you can do it.
yeah, it's not random. It is based on your C5 going on at that moment. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I noticed, like, you know, hey, this is happening. To me, it's excellent. When is this going to be out that everybody could buy it?
November 20th. Come heck or high water. But yeah,
Oh,
so we're
hopefully I'll
losing
be
our
back at
minds.
work
But
by
yes.
then, you know?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
I wouldn't say I'm missing it,
Oh,
but it's as soon as, Paolo goes, do you want to write an article on this game? I go, it's not going to do it justice. It is better to talk to folks to hear their love that they put in. You guys put in a lot of love in these games, and
oh.
what they put into it, what it is, and then it's even better if I like the game, which in this case, well, I'll let you guys decide whether or not I do, but I dig it. It will be available on Steam and from the Matrix Games website, correct?
That's correct. On the
Get
20th of
it?
November. Yes.
It can play. You can now. There is a two-player version that you can play.
Yes, you can play Hot Seat, and you can play through the Matrix Play by Email plus servers.
Yeah,
So
which
it's not
never
directly
have done that.
online, but via, yeah.
Um,
It
with
works.
Tim's Wargaming Cloud, I've played around with it because I have access to it,
You have to do
and
it that way, yes.
the game works. That I think if you're a fan of the Cold War and you really kind of want to put yourself in the cockpit of that battle group commander,
Mm.
um, where you could be anywhere from a lieutenant colonel to what was the one I just played? I was brigadier general. I was essentially brigade commander. The game is there. I think with the 4CMBG, you need more hockey references because you have
And
high
these
sticking,
scenario names,
cross
yes.
check, and
Breakaway.
huh?
Breakaway.
And
Breakaway.
breakaway. Yeah. One timer.
Mm.
There's a million of them. Are you a Maple Leafs fan?
Sadly, it's an
I'm sorry.
unrequited love, yes.
Yeah, I was his cap season ticket holder, and
Oh,
2018 was still the greatest moment of my life.
nice. It's
Yeah,
been a
even more than
while.
my son's
Uh,
birth. Um, but when they played the outdoor game against the Maple Leafs up at Annapolis, I took a close friend of mine, Dave Garvin, who big
mhm.
squad leader guy, writes for our platform, and is a Canadian infantry officer. I took them, and I'm like, well, they won this game, but come the playoffs, they're going to get knocked out. So yeah, it was kind of good. But hey, you guys will win it. Again, I've always been a fan of the Maple Leafs because my told you my family's from Montreal, and they hate the Habs.
Oh, they don't go for
Toronto.
the Canadiens. Oh
No, no, they're Habs fans.
Oh, they are
But
Habs fans. Okay, yes.
yeah, but that side of my family
Hate
is
the Leafs,
extremely
of course,
annoying.
of
Yeah,
course.
so I have to go for the Toronto Maple. I even have a favorite CFL team.
Really? Which one?
Well, I was stationed in Grand Forks, and a bunch of guys in my squadron, we had Winnipeg Blue Bombers season tickets.
Oh, Blue Bombers. Yeah.
And then knowing about like Jeff Nicklin, who was killed in World War II, and he was a Blue Bomber, and but the Grey Cup's coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait. I still remember. Well, the Argos won. Was it a year or two ago? And Dave was
Toronto
so happy.
Argonauts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But always been a fan because I had early ESPN and they had those games. So
I
I'll
live very
don my.
close.
What was that?
I was going to say, I live very close to Hamilton in Ontario. So
The
it's
Ticats.
an hour away. It's the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They're fanatical. I just saw some of their cheerleaders doing some fundraising just a week or two ago.
And I'm sorry that there was CFL teams in the United States. I actually went to one and it was horrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's too bad.
Yeah, it is. But Robert, thank you so much. Go ahead. Sorry, sir.
They should war game instead, Mitch. Like,
yeah,
that's the answer to everything, right? Just do a war game. Just play
do
one.
war game.
Have fun.
But Robert, thank you so much for coming. You see, you thought you weren't going to be that interesting. How hard was this?
You made it easy, Mitch.
That's what she said. But look at the links below, and really to go and appreciate this game. The Steam page will have some videos. Don't look at it like, well, it's not first person, this and that, but kind of listen to what we said about what's underneath the game and give it a try. Like I said, I'll give you the no dice, no glory money back guarantee, which nobody's ever taken us up on.
Great.
Well, because we don't have an address.
You're infallible. Yeah, clearly.
I'm just, I'm unctuous, really, what it comes out to. But
Yeah.
I'd love to have you on again because there's so much we didn't talk about, and we'll have to save it for next time because I know there's going to be other games in the future which I know you can't talk about, and I don't even know about this time. But the next time you do, you'll be back on. But Robert, once again, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mitch, and it's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to being back someday.
Sunday or any day?
Someday. I got a program again. We got to get working.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, hey, when's this game ready? I'm taking you away from it. So, yeah, it's a great game, folks, and it's Flashpoint Campaigns. Go check it out, and I'm going to turn it back to Sean in the studio, and we will see you soon.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory, and keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.